All right. Well, I'm super excited to have Shannon join me. We had a chance to connect and talk about her company, Esker Beauty. It's probably been a few months now, maybe a couple months at least, when we first connected. There definitely wasn't snow on the ground here in Minnesota when we first chatted. Very, very thankful to have you on. I really enjoyed getting to know you over the past few months, and I thought you'd be a great guest on the show. So, Shannon, the way I normally get these started is before we even talk about the product, before we talk about the company, I like to talk about the person. So we'd just love to kind of hear whatever parts of your background that you want to share with listeners.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So obviously I'm a female founder. I'm a solo founder and a first-time founder. And I come to this place from 12 years of being a trend forecaster, which is a really random job that a lot of people don't know actually exists, but it does exist. It's what I wanted to do actually. My When I was young, that was my goal. I read about it in like a career book. And I was like, trend forecasting, that's so cool. That's so, because I'm kind of naturally an observer and I like to research and take in information and digest it and think about, who people are and how they show up as consumers. So my first goal after I graduated, and my first degree had nothing to do with business or entrepreneurship or anything. It was human development. And then I moved to New York, and I intended on finding a job as a trend forecaster. So I had my bachelor's degree from UC San Diego, and then ended up. This was back in the day. So I found an internship posting on Craigslist for a trend forecasting company and interviewed, got the job, um, and basically started working right away. And that was like the beginning of a 12-year career as a trend forecaster. And I happened to be lucky enough to join a firm that was like, I think I was probably employee number 20. And then the company grew to like 200 plus people in the 5 or 6 years I was there, and then was eventually acquired by one of the other big trend forecasting firms. So that was sort of the journey that led me to eventually to my entrepreneurship journey.
Awesome. If you would ask me what trend forecasting was when I was growing up thinking about careers, I would have been like, I don't even know what that means. So it's kind of crazy how you knew so early on what you thought would be a cool job for your personality and what interested you. Moving from there, what was the catalyst to leave I guess if you're at 200 employees, kind of the corporate life and decide to jump full time into your own company?
So I felt like I kind of, I had some incredible experiences there and worked with some amazing clients. I got to have some really amazing kind of achievements under my belt. Like I got to go to Seattle and, uh, present directly to the CMO of Starbucks, in her like apartment building conference room, and got to present to Nike and do different events at Converse. I flew all around the world. I went to Germany and worked with Beiersdorf, which is a big skincare company, and went to Korea and Japan and really saw the world, and worked with so many different types of clients. And I felt like my brain was like constantly a sponge. But when you're on kind of the trends and research side, um, after a while, it becomes a little bit frustrating because you're always pushing this inspiration, pushing this research, pushing like your findings, and then you leave it with these corporate teams, and then you're sort of divorced from the result. And so I felt like I had the ideas that I believed in that I wanted to push to my clients, but whether or not they actually listened was a whole other story. um and aside from that, I was on a plane all the time. This was like pre-COVID days, so I was like constantly at airports and eating at Applebee's and just not really loving my life or my routine or my schedule, and didn't really have a good place to approach my career from a wellness perspective. So, um, it kind of was, this job and the amount that I worked with beauty clients essentially gave me the inspiration to start Esker, because I was being paid to provide inspiration, and then eventually I sort of inspired myself, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think. And remind me again, you started Esker how long ago?
It was about 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you kind of moonlighting it at first?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was working on it. I mean, product development and design and formulation takes so long, especially like to get the product right. We knew we wanted to get the product, like we really wanted to nail the product. We only launched with 3 products. We launched with a body oil, but in 3 different aromas and 3 different formulas. And so I think it probably took a year and a half just to nail the packaging, the formulations, and it was totally nights and weekends, like, you know,
Yeah.
kind of doing my doing my job on the side. And then I won't lie, um, I had a baby right around the time that I started it, and so, just because of the way that entrepreneurship is and the resources often that you have to start it, I was like, "Hey, I gotta ride through my maternity leave first, so that I can have a baby and, get my healthcare benefits and all of this
Yeah.
stuff, real life stuff." So I definitely was walking a pretty thin line for a little while until I finally made the jump.
Yeah, I was on a panel not too long ago, and one of the questions that came from the audience was, "What do you think is hindering innovation and startups?" And I just said, "Just basic human necessities of like healthcare and knowing that you have a roof over your head and the
Yeah,
security to try something is a luxury that not everyone has." And so
100%.
I can totally understand that why you had to kind of juggle all those things and make it all happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, so kudos to you for surviving that onslaught of real world, real life experiences, plus also just trying to run 2 companies at the same or do 2 jobs at the same time, essentially.
yeah,
It's not a news story. It's one that other people probably share and can resonate with, but it doesn't make it any easier for you as you're going through it. Let's talk about the company. So, Esker,
mhm.
what's the mission? What's the vision?
So, it's interesting because obviously I come from a trends and research background. When I first started this brand, and I try to be, like, really aware of what's going on in the market and how, we can be unique and be differentiated from what's out there. And I like to say that, like, I have walked so many trade show floors and seen so much product and junk and, like, just things that are being manufactured that really don't need to exist. So a point of differentiation for me has always been like my mission. So when we first started, it was about having a body product, and I always believed in the body care market and also like the greater wellness, health and wellness market, like starting to not only take over but starting to get really specified into different categories. Um, and now, at the time when I started, it was like, there's clean skincare and maybe like some clean makeup and some clean nail polish categories and things like that, but none of this like oral care or feminine care or sexual wellness or all the other categories that are
And now
present.
it's just crazy how many of those products are out there.
Yeah, and when I started the company trying to just basically be like a clean, elevated body care company, I got a lot of like, nobody cares about body, no one's gonna spend money on body, it's like not your face, nobody cares, yada yada.
Little timeout side tangent. Whoever those investors are shouldn't be investors if they were coming at you with that type of feedback, because like we all know that beauty sells. We all know that the pet industry sells. There are like
Yeah.
there are industries where people just throw money at it, and for someone to say that so flippantly is just it's mind-boggling to me.
Well, yeah, and I remember back, like, in the day, 5, 10 years ago, we would get these, like, pet care projects come across our desk, and we were like, "This is hilarious, like, pet care? Like, what?" And it's like, "No." I mean, and here we are, like, all of these categories are just, like, ripe for disruption. So, I started out wanting to really just, like, make a body care product, like a body oil that I thought could compete or would resonate with the women out there who are like starting to connect with clean and starting to, want to use premium ingredients. But then they were using like, sort of like Cetaphil or Nivea or some kind of other type of like lotion on their body. So we wanted to do a body oil that was like very exceptional. And so that was kind of the first way that we entered the market was like clean body care, clean premium body care made just for your body. And then I think like in the first couple years, again, we were very early. We were earlier than a lot of our main competitors. We started to see that this like idea of ritual started to come into play. And so as we started reaching, creating new product categories, it became this idea of like, and as I started talking to more customers, it became like talking to women more about body care and more about bathing rituals, which has always been a big part of my personal wellness story. Again, like when I never had a regular schedule, I couldn't do like, normal, I couldn't do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday yoga class because I was always like going to see some client. Um, and so I think we sort of pivoted into this ritual. The idea of just being clean at some point became table stakes. And so then we became more going into this direction. And as we launched new products into like, this is actually how you can have a body care routine and a bathing routine. And this is why it's important to you for your mental health, for your general wellness, for your skin, for your sleep, etc. And then I think this is a very long-winded answer, but then I think we came to this point where like everybody was saying everything is a ritual. It was like, you know, here, like this drink, when you drink it, it's a ritual. And then I sort of think like that lost meaning. So what we really want to do now is like basically like we want this brand to be about you don't have to have a reason to take care of yourself. You don't have to have a reason to like take a long indulgent bath. You should turn your home and your bathroom into this place that's like your personal sanctuary. And you don't have to have a special occasion. There's nothing like, extra about it or, ridiculous about it. And so we want to kind of, our brand now, I think, is all about like just really making self-care for women of all ages, all stages of life, and men too, just something that they feel like they have at their fingertips and something that doesn't have to be necessarily complicated or, um, you know, a big deal.
Yeah, if you walk through any big box retail store, and you go through like the beauty or like the hygiene aisles, it's just dominated by the traditional logos, and you don't really give too much thought. I mean, I've I've become more aware of things like this because I run into founders like you, but prior to this, maybe 5, 10 years ago, you just walk in and you see a brand that you recognize and grab it. Don't look at the ingredients, where it's made, or anything like that. You just kind of throw it in. But what to think about, like a new paradigm, not too far in the distant future, where buying decisions, trends that are being forecasted by people like yourselves at these companies that say, hey, look, maybe we should have, only half of our shelves have that kind of product, and the other half of our shelves should have products that are more specific to the needs and wants of individuals that maybe we traditionally have just ignored. Because honestly, like, I think a lot of that trend forecasting stuff, they're probably just trying to do what's the least risky for their job, right? You know,
Yeah,
you don't want to take a risk on a product that you might think is kind of interesting, but you don't know if it's going to succeed. And so you're
right.
not going to make that
Yeah,
recommendation, right? And
yeah,
so, but as more and more people
yeah.
speak with their checkbooks and their credit cards and their cash and buy products like yours, then it makes it a lot easier for those larger players to say, okay, there is an appetite for this.
And the perfect example of that, and also one of the reasons that I started to feel quite jaded about my job, is we would go in and we would talk to so many brands and so many retailers, I mean, across industries about natural products, clean products, like transparency, all these things, but especially around sustainability. And time again, like I would just come into these conference rooms and people would just roll their eyes and they were like, "Nobody cares." Like, they say they want things that are sustainable, but they don't wanna spend extra on it. No one cares. And it was so disheartening to me because I was like, "I don't think you're understanding, like, what future consumers
This
are."
was like 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
time. They hated it. It would, like, actually aggravate people. And with our brand, like, again, because, like, we we are so hands-on with all of our product and all of our packaging, like, we put so much thought into sustainability and our customers love it. And then here we are where it's like, you know, that fear of like pursuing sustainability back when it could have actually been a, really lucrative strategy for them,
Yeah.
but them,
They
just kind
always
of,
come around. They just come around 10 years later, right?
yep,
They'd much rather spend a premium after it's been de-risked than spend a little bit of that risk money that's maybe like 10x the cost or 10x less the cost to just try it earlier
yeah,
and maybe fail. And so it's always very mind-boggling. I will give a huge shout out, when you sent over those samples for me to, hand out to folks in my world. I did think it was very thoughtful, even from the packaging perspective. Instead of using like those air mailer bubbles, you all use like the paper corrugated
oh yeah,
filling and things like that. It's like those little details. You don't really think about it, but I remember when I first opened, I was like, "Oh, I'll save this and use it again later," and
yeah,
and it's really nice in that regard. So like those small incremental things play a huge part. I think like one of the things that really makes me excited about products like yours and other companies that are trying to do this type of thing, the internet's a lovely place. The access to information, the access to having a voice, I think has really made it faster for folks like you to prove that people do want something like this, right? You think of a world just 5, 10 years ago where Shopify didn't exist and Squarespace and Wix and all these platforms that allow you to have a storefront overnight. That was the first way for people to actually prove out that there are people out there that want this stuff.
yeah,
And the rate limiting step is that corporates don't have an easy way for the commoners to speak to them and tell them what they want. And so
yeah,
they sit in their ivory tower and say, "We're going to do it this way because we know better, and
yeah,
you'll buy what you'll buy because we're the store that's closest to you, and this is where you go." So,
yeah,
it is what it is. But so super exciting to hear that people are speaking and validating your assumptions that you had when you were doing that job. We've been talking a little bit about um, the start of it all. Talk about some of your success. Like where are you at in terms of the company's development? What are kind of the next stages that you're looking to achieve?
yeah. Great question and perfect time for it because obviously we're wrapping up the year and we're starting to kind of set our goals for next year and you know like really think about what we want to do in 2023. Um, so I think so far, our big wins have been in product innovation. So we have a tool called a body plane tool, and it's a exfoliation tool that my husband and I designed. We have a design patent pending on it. We created it. We made up the name. It was based on an ancient Greek and Roman, like essentially like body scraper um, from the days of the gladiators. And so we modernized it. We designed it completely from scratch. I mean, we don't manufacture it, but my husband and I work directly with our manufacturers, no middlemen. So that product was, one in which we took a really big risk because people were like, "What the heck is this thing?" I'm looking around my office because I should have one within arm's reach, but I don't know if I do.
They'll just have to go to the website to check it out.
Yeah, they'll have to go to the website. But people were literally like, "What is this bizarre looking thing?" And once we started putting out content to show how to use it, to show the benefits, talk about the benefits, it's like far and away become um, a bestseller and kind of like a cult. It kind of has like a cult following. Like people know us for this. And I'm glad that we have our patent because I'm very proud of that particular product. And then also this year we released something called a shower steamer, which is kind of like there are some shower steamers out there that exist, but we like to put our own spin on everything. So we made like a custom it's essentially like a bath bomb, but for your shower. So you turn on the water and hot water vapor comes up and it turns your shower into like an aromatherapy experience,
Cool.
and we've had huge success with that. We actually sold way through, like, for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we sold through way more inventory than we thought. We've been in, the Goop gift guide this year, Vogue, Forbes, Bloomberg, like just kind of endless press. We won an Esquire grooming award for that product. And so what it shows me and what I'm most personally excited about is that like people really do want innovation. It's also another zero waste product that like you have a holder, it lasts forever, you can refill it, there's no plastic. Um, and so, product innovation, I think, has really been something that's set us apart and that we take very, very seriously. And we have a couple really exciting new products that are coming out that are already in development for next year. So that's a big one. And what we found with our customers is that like we are really building this extremely loyal following. Um, so, as we release new products, and sometimes people who aren't in the beauty industry will say, like, well, why do you have to keep releasing products? It's a very trend driven, newness driven industry. But what we found is that the people that are like our top 10% of our customers will essentially like almost buy anything we put out because they already like the
They
product.
trust you. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have an LTV, this was before Black Friday, of among our top 10% of our customers of, like, almost $300. So, we're really kind of like and I think that's because, like, we're building that trust, we're putting out really cool products, and people who like us, like, are like, "Oh, cool, what's the next product?" And they're buying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The wholesale, path is really important. So we're definitely expanding our doors. We're probably across 250, 300 retailers across the country right now between Anthropology, which is one of our best clients, Free People Movement, independent boutiques and retailers. And then we're also doing a bunch of products and partnerships with spas, hotel
Mhm.
spas. Exploring amenities within hotel spas is something that, or hotels in general and
Yeah. When
hospitality.
are we gonna see little bottles of Esker in my hotels?
Soon, soon. And actually, we've had a lot of properties express interest in our shower steamers, like doing a custom scent, for a different, property, whether they have like a scent or there's something, about where they are geographically, like maybe they are, it's a hotel resort that's like in a pine forest or something. So
Yeah.
maybe we can create something for them that has like a little bit of pine note for their shower steamer products. So I think that's super exciting and a big opportunity that again, because of our specificity within our category that we can capitalize on. And then I would say the other side of things is actually we're pretty excited about exploring like corporate gifting.
Cool.
Um, and that's something that we've seen come in, you know, organically where, we've had people from like really big tech companies come in and say, or, talent and media companies saying like, hey, we want to gift, our talent 100 of these candles or 1,000 of these candles. And so,
Yeah.
and I think there's like there's all types of different streams for revenue that aren't just your typical like either wholesale or D2C, even though those are both incredibly important. We're kind of curious to find where we can build our revenue from
Yeah.
non-traditional area.
So the takeaway that I'm getting for people listening is essentially there are a lot of healthy pipelines of revenue that just haven't necessarily been turned on fully that are at your fingertips. I did want to give you one big shout out. Something that resonated with me when we first met is just like how in tune you are with your business and your numbers and your growth, and like just like you can tell when someone is living and breathing their company. And I remember the first time we talked, you had a really firm grasp on how the company was doing. Oftentimes founders are great at being visionaries but not great at being like operations people, and so just want to give you that shout out. Speaking of shout outs, any people or groups that or anyone in general that you want to throw a shout out their way, feel free. Otherwise, the other part of that is just like open invite to what types of folks are you looking to connect with as you're moving into 2023?
So we're definitely looking for, I mean, we are raising right now. What I am finding, like with the skittishness of a lot of traditional investors, is that where we are finding the most value right now is smaller checks that have like that are smart money, effective money. So, we've had a lot of incredible angels come in who work in, PR hospitality or work for media companies. And I'm really excited, honestly, to build the company this way because, you're kind of like from an investor perspective, you're kind of building this army of advocates. And so, you know, a 25K check from somebody who's like a super active angel and like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
passionate about, connecting businesses and founders and like really growing and really has skin in the game is like something that I think now is like pretty appealing to me. And then we're really excited too, just about like different types of partnerships, like partnerships, like I said, like we're trying to think really truly omni-channel, you know, unexpected, exciting partnerships, I think are something that is going to go a long way for brands, obviously, as long as it makes sense. But, gone are the days of just like pouring all the marketing dollars into Facebook and Meta, what have you. And I think like people who are, connected and want to collaborate with businesses that are mission driven and have an interesting point of view, we'd love to connect with anybody like that. So we're pretty open, to figuring out. I think it's an interesting time right now in the market to like think real outside of the box.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that are still looking for, um, you know, gifts for significant others and whatnot, feel free to check out Esker. What's the website if they want to check it out?
Yeah, it's www.eskerbeauty.com. And we also have a gift finder quiz. We have a bunch of different product quizzes on the site. And we've been featured in a ton of gift guides lately. And we've basically gifts at every price point from under 50 all the way up to over $200. We have free gift wrap and gift notes and all kinds of other benefits. So we may try to make it super, super easy for our customers.
I won't promise they're handwritten by Shannon, but maybe they are the gift notes.
Depends on
Anyway,
how big the order is.
yeah. Anyway, Shannon, thank you so much for joining on the podcast. I can tell through the screen how passionate you are about what you're doing, and so I'm super excited to get this out there to listeners that want to learn more.
Thank you, Adam. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely.